tribe, welcome back. How are you doing? I've been trying to get this video out to you guys all day long. It's been a little bit troublesome because it's been really sweltering hot here in Vietnam, and basically right now we are actually experiencing a heat wave. Okay, I mean it's sweltering from the time you wake up in the morning until you go to bed at night, and you gotta literally sleep with the air conditioning on. And I don't know how much my bill is going to be this month, but we'll see. All right. But reason why we are chatting today, reason why I want you to get at your pen and paper. No, I'm just joking. We're going to be talking about the borders. Okay, we're going to be talking about the borders reopening and when and why. Okay, and what's going to be the stipulation of the borders reopening. Okay, that's what we're going to be talking about. All right. So without further ado, let's get on with it, my man. As many people are anticipating the borders reopening, and allow me to say before I start, allow me to say, the information I actually have came out today, okay? Came out today, and it came out of Hanoi, and basically, a lot of people are kind of getting on YouTube and just giving out information and giving their own opinion of the information that they keep hearing, and hearing all these speculations and rumors from everyone else. But this is actual factual information coming out of Hanoi, okay? But this is also subject to change, so I want you to know that too. All right, but to get on with it, I'll definitely let you know that the reopening of the Vietnamese borders, okay? When, right? All right, with many anticipating reopening of the Vietnamese borders, whether it be for tourism, visiting family, or coming for work, as of yet, there is no verified date put in place to reopen the country's borders for tourism, despite many assuming June 1st, okay, to be so, to be that date of reopening. Again, that was a speculation. I have a couple of friends that actually do YouTube, and I did hear them say June 1st is going to be open. Me personally, I said August. It could still be August. Who knows? Okay, but moving on, and is most likely not going to be for a while. So this is part of what Hanoi is saying. It's not going to be for a while. For a while, it sounds like a long time. It could be a lot. For a while, it could be a month, but it doesn't sound like a month to me. It sounds even longer, right? It sounds more like maybe 4 or 5 months. Let me see, 4 or 5 months. So that's literally almost putting us close to December. Literally. So, not for a while. That's what they're saying. The borders are not going to be open for a while. But at the current moment, the Vietnamese authorities are fully placing priority on repatriating its own citizens, meaning that the government has proposed to possibly resume international flights on June 1st. Wait a minute. On June 1st, they said they're going to reopen the borders on June 1st, but, okay, there's a but coming, right? But it will not be for tourism. There we go. It will not be for tourists or tourism. It will be instead for specific cases. Specific cases. As with the answer to the previous question, there is no date set in sight, only in extreme cases. But it will be best to talk to your local embassy, your local Vietnamese embassy, let's be specific, right? The local Vietnamese embassy, if the circumstances are dire, that speaking to your embassy will gain you access to Vietnam, but it will likely give you more clarity. So even if you go talk to the embassy and the embassy tells you one thing, but then you hear something else coming out of Vietnam, that doesn't mean that your embassy is right. That doesn't mean that they have the information. You have to remember that the embassy in that country, okay, let's just say for instance, America right now is 1 day behind in terms of Vietnam, like almost 18 to 23 hours difference, right? So with information that they get last week or 2 days ago is old by the time you call the embassy. So let's just say today Vietnam gives out its information, right? Well, they're not going to know anything. I mean, yeah, you might think that, well, they're gonna, as soon as they get the information, they're gonna call the U.S. embassy, the embassies, the Vietnamese embassies in the U.S. and give them all the same information. It's not gonna happen. So basically, like I said, you just it's a tit for tat. You just gotta figure out, okay, if you talk to your embassy, I mean the Vietnamese embassy in let's say in San Francisco, right? Because there is one in San Francisco. You talk to the Vietnamese embassy in San Francisco. Well, the information they're going to have might be old compared to the information that's now coming out in Vietnam about the situation. So you just got to follow up, follow up with the information here on what's going on. Okay. In terms of family, in terms of family, well, in terms of Vietnamese family, I should say, in terms of Vietnamese family, what they're saying is that if you are a Vietnamese citizen coming back home because you got stuck due to the borders closing, then you're going to be repatriated and be let back into the country. Now, if you are a Vietnamese person, let's just say you are Vietnamese but you were born in the US, but you have family here in Vietnam, and you just want to come visit, it's not going to happen. Because you're not a Vietnamese citizen, you're a US citizen of Vietnamese descent. And let's just say you are Vietnamese who left Vietnam to go live in America. Well, guess what? When you left, you didn't leave with any anticipation of coming back. So pretty much right about now, you're considered a US citizen. But if you are returning to Vietnam because of family circumstances, like maybe your mom died, maybe you have your family still, like your mom is still living in Vietnam, but your mom passed away and you need to come back to Vietnam for the funeral or something like that. Okay, well that's a circumstance. That's basically a special circumstance or an extreme circumstance, so they will let you in. Okay, and for foreigners, I want you to know, this is only for Vietnamese citizens, because the borders are going to only be open for Vietnamese citizens and special circumstances of Vietnamese people of people of Vietnamese descent returning or coming to Vietnam because maybe a mom died or maybe something happened. I don't know. It could be anything. You know what I mean? And they need to come back to Vietnam for that particular reason. Might take it into consideration, right? They might take it into consideration. All right, so what will be the process? Okay, what will be the process of reopening borders when it does eventually? Okay, so now they're kind of thinking ahead, right? They're kind of thinking, okay, when the borders actually open, what's going to be the situation? Well, what they're saying is, due to official governmental advice on the subject, at this particular point in time, there's no, it's impossible. That's what it says. It's impossible to give a legitimate answer to this question. Okay? To this question. And any attempt to do so will be entirely based on speculation. Speculation, right? So what is that telling you? Think of next year. If you're a tourist and you're looking at and thinking about coming to Vietnam, think about next year. Don't think about anytime this year, anytime soon this year, right? So moving on, some have suggested that a travel bubble may be introduced. A travel bubble, meaning, okay, some people wondering, what is a travel bubble, right? I mean, me personally, I was like, okay, what is a travel bubble, until I read further down the line. Okay, travel bubble may be introduced, meaning that only Asiana countries, Asiana nations, okay, that's what they said, as well as New Zealand and Australia. I never knew New Zealand and Australia was part of the Asiana nations, but oh well, whatever, right? Will be allowed to travel to Vietnam or tourists, to which this previous statement was based on assumption. I guess someone said that that there was going to be a travel bubble and only these countries was going to be allowed into Vietnam. Well, guess what? It was nothing more than an assumption, okay? and rumor. Because I went on to say it was nothing more than an assumption and rumor, even speculation, and it should not be retained. Okay, well, they should say considered, right? It shouldn't be considered as factual information. Okay? Again, think of next year. Okay, let's continue reading. Vietnam would love to be able to give answers of certainty, though at this time could likely lead to confusion and misinformation. But as previously mentioned, the best place to seek answers is with your local Vietnamese embassy. Okay, that's what it's saying, with your local Vietnamese embassy. And I will try to tell you, okay, whatever information you get from the embassy, try to follow up that information with the information here, because you never know. Like I said, you know, some countries are 1 day ahead of Vietnam, many hours, like 18 hours ahead of, 18 hours behind, I'm sorry, 18 hours behind. So you got to remember, you know, by the time the Vietnamese council resume or whatever they do here in Vietnam, up in Hanoi, you just don't know, right? But anyway, to wrap this up, they basically said, until then, we ask that people maintain patience and understand that the fight against COVID-19 will likely last longer than the epidemic pandemic within Vietnam borders, especially given that Vietnam is leading the fight. It would be a risk. It will be a risk for Vietnam to resume tourism too soon, hence the stringent policy which is in place in terms of tourism. That's it. So kudos to Vietnam, and I definitely have to say that they did a pretty good job. You know, Vietnam is awesome. They did a really good job in terms of handling the coronavirus situation. Subscribe and share. Peace out.